This is the third and final part of the novel Delta 7, Chapter 1. Meanwhile, Knife was trying to decipher the unexpected picture he was seeing in his infrared scope. Seconds earlier, he had done his last-minute radar work, refining his position based on the placement of his cursors on the radar reflection of the control tower on the other side of the field. Although the tower was not their objective, he used its radar reflection to fix the position of the aircraft close enough to be able to find their intended target on his infrared scope. His pre-flight target study had told him that their target, the tarmac where the Libyans normally park their transport aircraft, might not be visible on the aircraft's radar. Seconds earlier, Knife had found the control tower on radar and quickly updated the aircraft's position. With only 20 seconds remaining until weapons release, Knife was confused. He was not looking at the wide expanse of concrete he expected to see. Instead, he was looking at a narrow strip of concrete with stripes in the middle. In a flash, Knife realized they were flying right down the airport's main runway rather than the adjacent parking apron, which was his target. With practiced skill, Knife's fingers swiftly pushed a series of buttons to expand the field of view on his infrared screen. Near the right edge of the screen, Knife could make out the beginning of the military aircraft parking area. He quickly moved the jet's infrared camera further to the right and could now see the wide expanse of the concrete apron. Knife knew that Carter would not see this change until he fired the F-111's laser, updating the aircraft's steering toward the target. When the aircraft's navigation system registered this last-minute change, Carter's steering bars careened wildly to the right. "What the—" was all Carter could get out before being interrupted by Knife's reply. "Brake right! Go for it! Go for it!" screamed Knife, nearly blowing the oxygen mask off his face. Carter slammed the stick to the right, reorienting the jet's trajectory with the newly updated steering information. Just before the steering cue moved back toward the required position, Carter yanked the aircraft back to the left, rolling out on the perfect heading, while his right thumb pressed the pickle button, releasing their bombs. "Oh, baby!" exclaimed Knife as the indistinguishable blobs on his scope transformed themselves into 7 Soviet-built IL-76 cargo aircraft neatly lined up on the ramp. "Damn!" he blurted out when his infrared screen erupted in a violent white flash of heat, the string of weapons exploding amongst the parked aircraft. Scores of weaponeers and intelligence experts would later evaluate his videotape to determine the extent of the damage. Although the battle damage assessment would happen later, Knife knew that most of those cargo aircraft would never fly again. Their flimsy aluminum outer skin no match for the explosive power of the string of Mark 82s he had just unleashed into their midst. Suddenly, a violent explosion slammed the jet, tossing them brutally against their cockpit restraints. For the first time since their target run had started, Knife looked outside the jet's canopy, half expecting to see a wing tearing away from the fuselage. The video game he had been watching on his scope had suddenly turned all too real. They had definitely pissed off the locals, who were now earnestly trying to shoot them out of the sky. "Let's get the hell out of here," he yelled, his voice betraying fear for the first time. Carter was totally focused on doing just that. From the moment the last bomb had left the jet's wings, he had been constantly jinking the aircraft and dropping metallic strips of chaff in an attempt to complicate the job of the Libyan anti-aircraft artillery gunners. Up to this point, Knife had been too intently focused on his Wizzo duties to appreciate or even notice the violent maneuvering that Carter was now commanding of their F-111. As the jet screamed away from the target area, Knife switched off the PAVTAC system, causing the entire targeting pod to rotate back into its streamlined position in the jet's belly. They both scanned the sky for further AAA fire or missile launches. Later that night, after returning home to their base in England, they would learn that the explosion they felt over the target area was caused by one of their own Mark 82s going slick. Because its parachute had failed to deploy, the bomb had glided along just below and behind them, exploding dangerously close behind the tail of the jet. Carter's textbook post-delivery hard turn had saved them from fragging themselves or from being blown up by their own bomb. As the jet hurtled over the beach west of Tripoli, Carter could make out the twinkling of reflected starlight in the gentle waves of the Mediterranean. It was time for his delousing radio call. "Puffy 6-1, feet wet, tranquil tiger," Carter transmitted over the jet's radio. Once out of range of the Libyan defenses, Carter began a slow climb and scanned the instruments of his F-111, confirming his fuel status and making sure that the jet was still in good shape. The Libyan coast receding behind him and his heart rate slowly returning to normal, Carter took a deep breath and considered what had just happened. Thank God, I'm alive. My jet's still flying. It looks like I did okay. I didn't screw up. Captain John Carter was now a combat veteran. This is the end of Chapter 1, Part 3. We hope you've enjoyed this short preview of the novel Delta 7. The book is scheduled for publication this summer, 2008, and will be available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and several other online retailers. If you'd like to learn more about Delta 7, please visit our website at www.delta7book.com. This is John Cathcart, the author. Thanks for watching.